I've always quite fancied one of these aluminium E-pipes, just for no good reason at all. I just thought they looked quite stylish. So recently I noticed I was searching for something else and came across a listing on eBay. And the price has come down to about £16.54, which is pretty good because it's a chunky, heavy, machined aluminium thing. So I bought one. I had the choice of colours. They do in a whole range of colours, including pink, which looked a bit pastel. I chose the purple without actually considering the technicalities of sticking a big purple one in my mouth. But anyway, purple it is. So it comes in this little packet here. And it comes with this pipe holder, which comes flat packed, and when you fold it out, it's got this sort of base to hold the pipe, plus it's got this little curved section here that the actual cartomizer, cartridge, or whatever you want to call it, the vaporizing section, it sits into. It comes with two of the little, I was going to say CR123 typey batteries, but the number that's on the battery is an 18350, which means 18 means 18mm diameter, 350 means 35mm long, and I've already got one of them in here. So it comes with two of these with this sleeving around them and this cheap charger. It also comes with the instruction manual, complete with a helpful guide to what they call selling well products. And the instructions aren't particularly impressive. It tells you what comes with it. Unscrew the bottle cap of the atomizer and then fill e-liquid into the atomizer. The battery body is in the... Yeah, it gets a bit weird. The battery body is in the condition of working when you are taking it out. Pay attention that positive pole should be up and the negative pole should be down. When put the battery into battery body is shown below, and then it doesn't actually show you below. Locking the switch tightly in the clockwise direction after installing the battery correctly. K1000 will be on working after being lightly pressed the top of the switch, and it will be off working when loosen the switch. And then rather suspiciously it says, number 3, don't press the switch for a long time in case of battery burnt from overheating when using K1000. Oh, crikey. So the charger... well, let's take a look. Well, actually, let's take a look at the pipe first. That's what this video is about. It's about the pipe. So when you push the button on top, that's what actually activates it. There's no electronics in this whatsoever. So when you do this, it operates. And I wouldn't say it's mega smoky output. Hold on a second. That said, I have put Poundland's finest e-liquid in it. But it's reasonable enough. Now, interestingly, when I first got this and tried it, maybe I just didn't let it soak in for long enough, but it had that horrible burnt effect when you're actually inhaling and it just tastes acrid and burnt. And the way I ended up fixing that, I found that it really uses standard components, and this is the original wick that came and heater that came with it. And you can screw new ones into that cartridge. So these are just standard Ego style type things that you know, the sort of generic type tanks you get, and even the fitments are the same in the sense that if you unscrew this, it actually is an adapter here. I'll unscrew the adapter as well. So the adapter ring covering the contacts, and then that adapts it to this size, which is absolutely standard because you can actually, if I unscrew this and shove it into one of these standard rechargeable batteries, you can just stick it into that to make your own improvised, random and slightly weird looking, hold on, I'll just turn that round like that, into a sort of bong type thing. Hold on. Reasonable enough. So, very modular. The end bit comes out, it just slides out, it's got O-rings, so that can be freely moved to any position. The tank itself, you can unscrew the top, and it's got a little O-ring seal here, and then it's got that sort of bit that screws in, the bit that I've already taken out and replaced. Then I believe this also comes off. Does it? I'm not really sure. And my finger's now all slimy. It's not going to come off because my fingers are all slimy, and besides, it's full of liquid. This is probably a really bad idea taking it off. Okie dokie. So I'll screw that right back on right now. And then put this back in before liquid splunges everywhere. So taking a look at the pipe itself, the body of the thing. Now, it's notable that the batteries, well, first of all, the battery holder and the button is really annoying because it's quite hard, particularly when you get e-liquid all over your fingers now, it's quite hard to unscrew the end. But this is how it comes out. You have to basically just put your hand down like that and twist it out. And that reveals the button mechanism, which is really simple, and it reveals the battery inside. Now this is just a machined aluminium housing, and at the bottom it's got a plastic insulator with a spring sitting in it. And then all this assembly is, it's the little rubber grommet here, a little white rubber grommet, and the contact pin that pushes down the middle of it. And that not only holds it in place, but also makes it watertight so that liquid doesn't go down into the pipe itself. And that contact just has a little black wire. I know it's a little black wire because I've already had it apart. And it goes down into the sort of a channel in here, and then pops up and into the spring at the bottom. Can you see the spring at the bottom? I think you can just about see the spring at the bottom there. Very simple, no electronics whatsoever. That includes in the battery, there's no protection. So technically speaking, if you kept puffing away, you could actually drag the battery way down below its safe voltage. The switch, now keep in mind that the negative connection is just hooked onto this inner pin here. The switch basically just connects the positive end onto the housing, and the way it does that is it's got a spring-loaded plunger. Let me demonstrate, spring-loaded plunger. And when you put it on over the battery, it sits just proud slightly of the battery contact and doesn't actually touch it. But when you press down, and it's just a small, it's only about 1 millimetre, maybe 1/16 of an inch. When you press that in, it just makes contact and it connects the positive onto the shell of the pipe. Very, very simple. So I'll just stick this all back together, have another puff, and then, you know what, we'll take a look inside this. I like this because it's such a chunky piece of aluminium, but there is a slight downside to that. My house being the toasty hot furnace that it is at, currently it's about, hold on, what is the temperature in here? Hold on a second. The temperature in here is currently 8.6 degrees Celsius. See, I'm actually piping hot. I like a cold house. I like a cold, dry house with dehumidifiers, but just cold. That's what happens when you work outdoors. It's just, you get used to the cold and it just feels unpleasant when you go into houses that are overheated. So let's see if I can put this back in here. Oh, disappointingly, I thought I could have used the charger for this straight onto the pipe barrel here, but I couldn't because when you actually put it on, it just doesn't fit. It's actually blocked by an outer ring from going into this connection, which is a bit of a shame. So let's put this back together again. And I say the mouthpiece can just be twisted to any angle as you like. So yeah, it works reasonably enough. It's very simple. And it's quite nice that it uses the standard components. So, you know, you can change you can just you can buy a cheap replaceable one of these or the heaters for it and just use them in that. So let's take a look at the charger. Now the charger I promptly opened when I got it to check it, and I'll open it again right now. It said, a label in the back, it's the typical one that it pops out, and it's the type that it doesn't matter the polarity if you put it in, or the size of the battery. It's got this springy contact. And it doesn't matter the polarity because it will automatically detect, I think it's, yes, intelligence can be positive and negative I've charged. Oh, that's terrible English. Quick charger, safe and reliable. Like, okay, we'll assess that ourselves, shall we? And I think from that you can tell, no, it's not safe at all, really. But what these chargers, a common weakness they often have, particularly for the ones that actually do charge anywhere near 500 milliamps, is they normally have a diode on the switch mode power supply section, the flyback transformer. They usually have a little diode, And in this case, it was a 1N4148, which is a fairly common thing for them to do. This is just, hold on a second, there we go. So here's the, oh blimey, it's all falling to bits. Here's the little metal slider plate that the contact slides backwards and forwards on. It's got terrible separation. It's the classic power supply. It's basically the low voltage side from the transformer up at the end here is these two tracks here. And they just pass right next to mains voltage ones. It's a fraction of a millimetre, not even half a millimetre away from them. So it's not compliant with, you know, electrical regulations in countries that give a shit, really. The transformer is also an unknown variable. I mean, it's a bit disappointing because it could almost have been relatively safe because most of the rest of the circuitry is kept away-ish. But that, you know, it's just sort of, yeah, just silly things that, you know, they could have just perhaps shimmied the tracks in a bit, but they would never have got the separation. It's, you know, it just, by default, it does come quite close to the mains contact. The transformer, as I say, it's an unknown variable. You don't know how well the windings are isolated in that. But going on to the subject again, let's doodle this out in the sense, not a huge doodle, just a very quick doodle. The switch mode power supply circuitry, say mains in, and then it's got it drives the one side of the transformer, and then the output of the transformer goes through a single diode, and it charges the capacitor, and then that's used by the circuitry. And in this case, it's using one of those generic little tiny sort of 8-pin chips that it does everything. It's one of those little automatic charger chips that the polarity and everything doesn't matter. It just detects the lithium cell being applied and then swaps the polarity to match. Very interesting little circuit. But quite often they'll skimp and they'll use a 1N4148. And a 1N4148 is basically, it's a little signal or switching diode. It's only rated, normally I'd rate it about 100 milliamps. It may be able to be pushed up to 200 milliamps. I changed that for a UF, ultra fast, which I think that stands for 4007. And that's like the 1N4007, but it's the really high speed version. And the reason I chose the 4007 version, the higher voltage version, is just so it means I can get a stock of those diodes, and it doesn't matter what voltage you use them on because it's a higher voltage one. So I put that diode in, but then laterally I checked the current, and it turned out it was only charging the cell at about 150 milliamps. So to be honest, it wouldn't have been pushing that little diode too hard. But then again, when I found out it was charging at that speed, I actually just ended up sticking the cell into a lamp holder, a battery holder, and then hooking it up to my bench power supply and just cranking the voltage up, and then setting the current and to charge the cell faster at 1 amp. So, in all, there's what I was going to say. When I said about the temperature in here, how it was cold, I've been holding this for a while now, so it's all right. But see, when I first picked it up, particularly when it had just been delivered and it had come in from outside, honestly, because this is solid metal, it was ice cold. It was freezing cold. It was like really unpleasant to hold. So that's something worth noting. If you store it in a cold place and you grab this, it's not going to feel comfortable to hold because that is super icy cold. It holds the low temperature. I suppose you could heat it up and it'd be the complete opposite. But yeah, that's one thing to note about this, because it is, of course, just a big chunk of aluminium. But on the whole, I quite like it. It's basically just a sort of pipe-styled version of the generic sort of the atomizer type thing. And it works quite well. And it's a nice simple system that you just push that contact down top, and that's what starts it up. Very simple, and really not much to go wrong with it electronically. So yeah, it's a neat little thing. It's very, very neat. I like this. Just really, actually, largely because of the sort of aluminium. I suppose it's turned, really. Yeah, the aluminium shape. It's nice, chunky.